Our family's story was never about perfection. It was about survival, carved from the raw determination of immigrants who arrived with nothing but hope and calloused hands. I learned early that success wasn't a gift. It was a battlefield you conquered inch by inch. As the daughter of Maria and Carlos Rodriguez, I understood sacrifice before I understood anything else. Our small apartment in East Los Angeles was a testament to hard work. Every corner meticulously maintained, every resource carefully stretched. My parents worked multiple jobs, my mother cleaning houses, my father working construction, their bodies bearing the weight of their American dream. Marco, my younger brother, was always different. Where I was methodical and practical, he dreamed big. While I buried myself in books and scholarships, he saw opportunity in every corner of the city. I became a corporate lawyer, not just for myself, but as a strategic investment in our family's future. When Marco struggled through community college, I was the one who made it possible. My first internship earnings went directly into his education fund. Late nights studying for the LSAT were punctuated by conversations about his potential. My fingers tracing study guides while helping him navigate academic challenges. "You're going to be something special," I would tell him, and I meant every word. My sacrifices weren't martyrdom, they were calculated investments. Marco had a charisma I lacked, a ability to network and charm that would take our family further than my careful planning ever could. Every dollar I saved, every connection I cultivated, was another brick in the foundation of our family's ascent. By the time Marco entered real estate development, I had already positioned him perfectly. My legal connections, my understanding of contracts and negotiations, became his silent advantage. When he needed initial capital for his first major project, I was there. Not just with money, but with a meticulously crafted financial strategy that minimized risk and maximized potential. Sofia Martinez entered his life during this moment of triumph. A social media influencer with perfectly curated images and a seemingly charmed life, she represented everything Marco had dreamed about. To him, she was validation, proof that he had arrived. I should have seen the warning signs, the way she looked at our family not as people, but as potential assets. The calculated smile that never quite reached her eyes. The subtle shifts in Marco's behavior, the way he began to distance himself from our family's humble roots. But family loyalty is a complicated thing, and some lessons are learned only through pain. The rehearsal dinner was supposed to be a celebration of love and family unity. Held at La Bella Vista, an upscale restaurant Marco had selected to showcase his success, the evening sparkled with carefully arranged crystal and the soft glow of ambient lighting. I arrived wearing a tailored navy suit, my hair pulled back in a professional twist, the uniform of a woman who had fought for every inch of respect in her career. Marco looked dapper in a custom Tom Ford suit, Sophia clinging to his arm like a perfectly styled accessory. Her dress was a statement piece, designer no doubt, carefully chosen to photograph perfectly for her social media. I noticed everything. The way she positioned herself, the calculated angles, the subtle adjustments to catch the best light. "Elena," Sophia said, her voice cutting through the ambient chatter, "we need to talk." I expected small talk, perhaps some pre-wedding jitters. Instead, she delivered a blow that would change everything. "I want you to leave," she stated, her words crisp and deliberate. The restaurant seemed to go silent, though I knew the other guests continued their conversations. Her statement hung in the air like a carefully thrown knife. I stared, certain I had misheard. "Excuse me?" Sophia didn't flinch. "Your presence complicates things. Marco's family, your history. It's messy. This is our moment, and I won't have it overshadowed by complications." The room spun slightly. Years of sacrifice, of supporting Marco, of being the backbone of our family. and she wanted me erased with the casual indifference of deleting an unwanted social media comment. I looked to Marco, expecting him to defend me, to remind Sophia of everything we had been through, of the sacrifices I had made. He said nothing. The silence was more devastating than her words. Around us, the restaurant continued its elegant dance. Waiters glided between tables with champagne. Soft music played. But in that moment, my world had been reduced to this: a sister, suddenly unwelcome at her own brother's wedding. My mind began to calculate, to process. Lawyers don't break. We adapt. And something inside me started to shift. Not anger. Something far more dangerous. Cold, methodical determination. Sophia thought she was cutting me out. She had no idea what was coming. My office became a war room. Each document, each digital trail was a potential weapon. As a corporate lawyer specializing in complex litigation, I knew how to deconstruct narratives and people. Sophia Martinez wasn't just a social media influencer. She was a carefully constructed facade. I began with her digital footprint. My network of professional contacts and legal research tools became my reconnaissance team. Every social media post, every sponsored content, every tagged location underwent meticulous scrutiny. The first red flag emerged quickly. Her follower count, which Marco bragged was over 500,000, showed suspicious patterns. Engagement metrics didn't align with her supposed influence. Using specialized software, I traced multiple clusters of bot accounts artificially inflating her online presence. Financial records told an even more compelling story. The luxury lifestyle she projected was a house of cards. Her income streams were a complex web of paid promotions, affiliate marketing, and strategic relationships that barely concealed her financial instability. I discovered she had been involved in 3 previous relationships, each ending after significant financial investments from her partners. Marco was just her latest target. Bank statements, which I accessed through legal channels, revealed a pattern. Sophia had a history of timing her relationships with men on the cusp of professional success. Marco's recent real estate developments made him the perfect mark. Her background check was equally revealing. Born Sofia Rodriguez, she had anglicized her name for marketing purposes. She came from a middle-class neighborhood in San Diego. Her entire persona was a carefully constructed illusion of success and luxury. Most damning were the conversations I uncovered. Private messages and communications suggested she had been discussing Marco's financial potential with her inner circle long before they officially became a couple. This wasn't love. This was a calculated acquisition. I compiled a dossier, not out of malice, but out of a desperate need to protect my brother. Each page was a piece of evidence, each document a potential weapon. The narrative was clear. Sophia wasn't marrying Marco. She was positioning herself for a strategic takeover of his life and resources. My hands didn't shake as I organized the information. Lawyers are trained to remain calm in the face of explosive revelations. But something burned inside me, a protective fury that had been simmering since that night at the restaurant. Marco thought he was choosing love. Instead, he was walking into a meticulously laid trap. And I was about to spring it. Revenge, I learned long ago, is an art form best practiced with surgical precision. I began with the wedding venue, a $50,000 reservation at the Coastal Estates, a premier location that boasted ocean views and meticulously manicured gardens. My first move was to review the contract, line by line, with the same intensity I would approach a multi-million-dollar corporate merger. There, buried in page 7, paragraph 3, a cancellation clause that most would overlook. A specific set of conditions that would trigger a full refund, contingent on breaches of contract terms. I made 3 strategic phone calls, each carefully worded, each designed to create a paper trail. The catering contract was next. A $40,000 commitment to Gourmet Horizons, a high-end catering company known for elaborate wedding spreads. I discovered a series of health code violations from their past events, information I strategically leaked to the venue's management. One anonymous tip to the health department, and the entire catering arrangement began to unravel. Floral arrangements, a $30,000 investment with Bloom Eternal, proved even more vulnerable. I identified the lead florist, a woman I had previously helped in a workplace discrimination case. A single conversation reminded her of past favors, and she became an unexpected ally. Each cancellation was a carefully orchestrated domino. The wedding photographer, the transportation services, the custom-designed wedding favors. I methodically contacted each vendor. Not with anger, but with a calm, professional approach that left no room for argument. Legal language can be a scalpel or a sledgehammer. I chose the scalpel. Marco's wedding insurance policy became my most intricate target. I understood every clause, every potential loophole. By the time I was finished, the policy would cover nearly none of the mounting losses. Digital footprints were equally important. I reached out to Sophia's professional contacts, carefully, strategically. Each conversation planted seeds of doubt about her credibility. Social media influencers survive on reputation. I was systematically dismantling hers. My law firm connections proved invaluable. A whispered conversation here, a strategic email there. I ensured that Sophia's professional networks began to view her with suspicion. Her carefully constructed image started to crack. Financial records told a story of mounting pressure. Each canceled service represented not just a monetary loss, but a blow to their carefully planned narrative of success and perfection. By the time I was finished, the $250,000 wedding was transforming into a financial nightmare. Not through destructive rage, but through calculated, methodical deconstruction. This wasn't just about revenge. This was about protection. Marco might not understand now, but he would. I saved the final details of my plan for the last possible moment. The anticipation was almost delicious, a word I would never use out loud, but which perfectly captured the moment. The wedding was 5 days away, and everything was about to unravel. The first signs of panic arrived 3 days before the wedding. Marco's call came precisely at 7:14 a.m., his voice a mixture of desperation and barely contained rage. "What have you done?" The words were a crescendo of disbelief, each syllable loaded with the weight of impending disaster. "Exactly what was necessary," I responded, my tone clinical and calm. Behind the scenes, a carefully constructed world was collapsing. Sophia's meticulously curated social media presence began to crack. Her followers, those real and purchased, started noticing the subtle signs of chaos. Cancelled venue tags, cryptic posts. The perfect narrative was fraying at the edges. Our extended family became a battleground of divided loyalties. My Aunt Rosa called, her voice a mixture of concern and accusation. "Elena, this isn't like you. What could possibly justify destroying Marco's wedding?" I said nothing. Some truths cannot be explained. They can only be demonstrated. My mother was different. She knew me. When we met for coffee, her eyes held an understanding that needed no words. She squeezed my hand, a silent acknowledgement of the protective fury that had always defined our family's survival. Marco's professional network began to whisper. As a real estate developer, his reputation was everything. Each canceled wedding service became a potential liability, a crack in the facade of success he had so carefully constructed. Sophia's attempts to control the narrative became increasingly desperate. Frantic calls to vendors, angry messages to family members, social media posts that became progressively more erratic. The carefully maintained influencer persona was crumbling in real time. I watched it all with the detachment of a surgeon observing an operation. Legal notices began to arrive, vendors demanding explanations, insurance companies questioning discrepancies. Each document was another layer of complexity, another thread in the tapestry of destruction I had woven. My law firm colleagues noticed something different in me. Sarah, my closest work friend, watched me with a mixture of admiration and concern. "You're playing a dangerous game," she warned during a late-night strategy session. "Some games require playing," I responded. The financial implications were staggering. Each canceled service represented not just monetary loss, but a systematic deconstruction of Sophia's carefully manufactured dream. Deposits lost, contracts voided, reputation shattered. Marco called repeatedly. I ignored most calls, letting the silence speak volumes. 2 days before the wedding, Sophia's primary sponsor dropped her contract. Her carefully constructed online empire began to crumble. Followers noticed. Brands distanced themselves. The influencer ecosystem is brutal, and I knew exactly how to navigate its merciless landscape. This wasn't just about a wedding. This was about exposing a predator. My phone buzzed with a text from Marco. "We need to talk." I smiled. Talking time was over. The real conversation was just beginning. The venue stood empty, a monument to a wedding that would never happen. Coastal Estates, with its panoramic ocean views and meticulously manicured gardens, now felt like a mausoleum of shattered dreams. Marco arrived first. His tailored suit, once a symbol of success, now looked like armor worn too long. Sophia followed, her perfectly curated appearance beginning to crack. Makeup slightly smudged, designer dress showing the first signs of wear. "You've destroyed everything," Sophia hissed, her voice a combination of rage and desperation. I stood near the floor-to-ceiling windows, my reflection a study in controlled calm. "No," I responded. "I've simply illuminated the truth." The room became a battlefield of unspoken histories and carefully guarded secrets. I began methodically, presenting each piece of evidence like a prosecutor building an irrefutable case. Bank statements revealing her pattern of strategic relationships, screenshots of conversations discussing Marco as a potential financial target, documented instances of inflated social media metrics and purchased engagement. "You're a professional manipulator," explained, my voice clinical. "Not a partner, but a calculated opportunist." Marco listened, the color draining from his face with each revelation. Sophia's carefully constructed facade began to crumble. The perfect influencer, the dream bride, exposed as a strategic operator. The bank statements were particularly damning. 3 previous relationships, each ending after significant financial investments. A pattern of targeting men on the cusp of professional success. Marco was just her latest mark, a potential asset to be acquired and exploited. "Do you know how many sponsored posts were completely fabricated?" I asked, pulling up digital forensics. How many luxury experiences were nothing more than carefully angled photographs and strategic marketing? Sophia's social media empire, her entire professional identity, was systematically dismantled. Brands began dropping her contracts in real time. Her follower count plummeted as the truth emerged. Marco looked at her, truly looked at her, perhaps for the first time. "Why?" he asked, the word heavy with betrayal. Sophia said nothing. The silence was more revealing than any explanation. I presented the final piece of evidence, a comprehensive dossier documenting her calculated approach to relationships. Each page was a surgical strike against her carefully maintained narrative. The ocean outside seemed to mirror the moment, vast, unforgiving, revealing hidden depths. "Family isn't a strategy," I told her. "It isn't a business transaction. It's a sacred trust." Marco's hands were shaking. The man who had seemed so confident, so successful, now looked like someone seeing the world for the first time. Sophia's mask had completely fallen. No more perfect angles, no more strategic positioning, just a woman exposed. The wedding would never happen. But this was never about preventing a wedding. This was about protection, about revealing a truth that would have destroyed my brother far more completely than any immediate action. "I've always protected you," I said to Marco, "even when you couldn't see the danger." Outside, the first drops of rain began to fall, a cleansing, symbolic end to a carefully constructed illusion. The days following the confrontation moved like a slow-motion earthquake. Marco's real estate firm began distancing itself from the spectacle. Professional networks whispered, careers balanced on the knife's edge of potential scandal. But I had been careful. Every action documented, every move calculated to protect the core of our family's reputation. Sophia disappeared from social media. Her once thriving influencer empire collapsed faster than a house of cards in a hurricane. Sponsors withdrew. Followers evaporated. The carefully constructed image she had spent years building crumbled within weeks. Our parents became the unexpected anchors of stability. My mother, with her immigrant's wisdom, understood survival better than most. "Sometimes protection looks like destruction," she told me, her hand squeezing mine during a quiet evening at her small apartment. Marco's transformation was the most profound. The brother who had once been blind to manipulation now saw the world with a clarity that was both painful and necessary. Weekly dinners became therapy sessions, unraveling years of carefully maintained illusions, rebuilding trust one conversation at a time. "How did I not see it?" he would ask, the question hanging between us like a ghost. I never blamed him. Predators are experts at camouflage. My law firm noticed a shift in my work. Cases involving financial manipulation, relationship fraud. I became the go-to attorney for those seeking protection from calculated deception. My experience with Sophia became a professional asset, transforming personal pain into professional expertise. Financial repercussions were significant. The wedding's cancellation cost Marco nearly $250,000, a brutal lesson in the importance of careful vetting. But money could be recovered. Trust was far more fragile. Family gatherings became a delicate dance of healing. Aunts and uncles, initially divided, slowly understood the depth of my actions. What seemed like destruction was, in fact, a form of preservation. Sarah, my closest work colleague, understood me best. "You didn't just save your brother," she said one evening over wine. "You exposed a systemic problem of emotional and financial predation." Marco began a journey of self-discovery. He enrolled in counseling, started rebuilding his personal and professional boundaries. The confident real estate developer now carried a vulnerability that made him more human, more connected. Sophia's attempts to retaliate were futile. The evidence I had collected was ironclad. Any legal challenge would only further expose her calculated approach to relationships. Our family's narrative wasn't about revenge. It was about protection, about understanding that love isn't blind acceptance, but fierce, intelligent guardianship. Months passed. Slowly, deliberately, we rebuilt. Marco started a foundation supporting victims of financial and emotional manipulation. My legal practice expanded, focusing on cases that protected vulnerable individuals from strategic predators. The ocean view where we had our final confrontation became a metaphor. Vast, powerful, capable of both destruction and renewal. I thought about family, about sacrifice, about the intricate ways we protect those we love. Sometimes protection requires breaking things apart to rebuild them stronger, and I had become very good at rebuilding,